И мы продолжаем, мы уже устали, наверное, повторять про то, что искусственный интеллект все плотнее входит во все сферы нашей жизни, в том числе, разумеется, в образование, да, и он...
And we continue, I repeatedly said that AI is increasingly penetrating various areas of our lives, including education. It helps us with homework, it sometimes does it for students. For example, I saw papers of students completely made by AI. I think Ray Bradbury said that I got the education for free and had it in the library. Maybe now people will say that I was educated with GigaChat or by GigaChat. Perhaps AI will replace traditional learning. Today we'll try to understand that. The head of the Educational Law Laboratory and Deputy Director of the Institute of Education of the Higher School of Economics, Semen Yankevich, is with us today. The Knowledge Director at Sea Ltd company, Ildar Mansurov. Hello, hi. Ildar, Director of Knowledge. What does it mean? The many things that this is the one who knows the most. But that's not true. No. This is the person who manages all the knowledge that is generated within the company. After all, there's a huge amount of information. It's important to turn that into knowledge. Information and knowledge are completely different things, and you need to structure these knowledge to deliver it to the right people at the right time in the right amount. How do you think knowledge differs from information? This is important because we will be discussing working with knowledge in the process of turning information into knowledge in the context of education. Well, that's a special, exquisite question. To put it simply, information is like raw materials. It's like in computer sciences say, these are raw log files. You've got something, but you don't know what it is about yet. In order to draw conclusions and start acting on this information, it needs to be processed and analyzed. And yeah, that's how it works. There's a data centricity. You process the collected information, extract knowledge from it, and then use it in practical form. Semen, Ildar, do you think the introduction of AI in education is really a phenomenon? Now AI is being implemented only to help teachers and employees of educational institutions. Will it affect both school children and students, apart from teachers? I will start, I think. If you talk about a phenomenon as something rare and unique, I think this is when we go beyond this framework. First of all, how do you prepare for AI? Yeah, I had reviewed the homework made exclusively by GigaChat, by our Sberbank AI system. What is the response? Do you block that possibility and capability? That's not productive. So you have to know how to address that. So universities are now making some attempts to integrate AI into the educational system. We're moving towards the status of a phenomenon. And the reviews and the surveys show that this is still a phenomenon, because only 10-15% of teachers and students in Russia use AI in the learning process. The survey results differ. In the higher School of Economics, this figure is high. It's about 50-60%. However, if you talk about the ways it can be implemented, we need to talk about the end-to-end comprehensive approach. So this applies to, on the one hand, developing and personalizing educational content. And here we are talking about creating some unique learning routes for students, for undergraduates or graduate students. But we're talking about managerial practices that would help the teachers to decrease the load for the teachers, for the mundane tasks, and that goes for the administrators. They will be able to build the processes to free up time for some more important transformations that have to be done, and to resolve the tasks that are unresolvable right now. For example, to look at the well-being and to monitor the well-being of the students, and to predict whether they will drop out from the university, and to proactively address that. Ildar? I would divide these areas, because that was a technology for me. I work with it on a daily basis, and there are many nuances there. But why everyone is now talking about AI? There are two big reasons for that. The neural networks that help you to solve some technical problems, and the other large language models that become a sensation and attract a lot of attention. But this is an interface. It's like a keyboard or a mouse. And it's very powerful. It has become very powerful now. And there is an emergence effect. The neural networks were not taught some things, but they suddenly showed the ability to learn. And that's confused people, you know. And people started to use it everywhere, and they started to think that it applies in all areas of life. But that is not so. This is a misconception, at least at the current stage. The further development of AI is a fact. As Semen has already noted, there will be small specialized language models. These will be the neural networks that will be trained on certain data sets. And these will be transformer technologies. The tools will definitely become a really powerful and effective tool, but it is very promising. The question is whether this impact will be good for us or not. Let's hope for the best. I think an education system, to be honest, it looks a little bit scary. Right now, I can still distinguish whether the work was written by a student or a neural network, but that's for now. What will happen next, I do not know. How will that transform the education system? Because for me, I see the following outcome, you know, as a teacher. We're going back to Socratic methods. Testing hypothesis, discussion, and all this happening in the offline format, without intermediaries like deepfakes or masks. So it's like we're going back to antique times. Will bring us back there to these principles. So will the education system follow this path? Then the second question, what skills will students and people of the future will save, will maintain? What skills will disappear? For example, the skill to write complex texts, you know, and formulate complex texts might disappear. Well, first of all, everything is shrouded in mystery. We don't know exactly what will happen. Now, we now losing the skill of writing with the pen. We may eventually forget how to write at all. And that's a real scenario, you know. The education systems are quite sluggish. They adapt slowly, but adaptation is inevitable. A change request is mostly likely to come from businesses, because when companies realize that they're being approached by people who don't have the right skills, then the changes will begin. A return to Socratic methods, the Harkness's methods, something similar, may be one of the solutions. However, it is important to remember that such approaches are time-consuming. The teacher needs time to check the progress, to discuss the plan with the student, to talk about every chapter, to receive some answers to some questions, to see how the student reflected on the topic. You know, all this is possible, even if the student used neural networks such as GigaChat to prepare their homework, right? But you need to engage their brains, right? Like, how do you rate their questions? Maybe there will be some biases. Every neural network has a character of its own, so it might be biased. So what have you noticed? How does neural network builds the thoughts? And it helps to develop the skills of the student, the skills of thinking. The soft skills are needed by businesses, and they're in more demand than the hard skills sometimes. I would agree that the methods used to assess competences and knowledge will inevitably change. And this is not a new situation. And then we talk the academic fraud here, and that's not a new challenge, really. Just we have a new provider of that text. In the past, it was someone who would write a text for you, or you would download a ready-made file online. Now the text is generated by the large language model. I hope that as with pre-written text, we will be able to adapt, and we'll have some technical capabilities. No, I don't think we'll have technical capabilities to understand whether it was written by a human or AI. Anyway, I think that by checking the text, you can understand. You see the student visiting workshops and lessons, and then you see how they work, how they study, and then you understand that okay, this is not him. He will not be able to write all that homework. But we should not talk about the ban. We should talk about the capabilities of using AI and justifying it. And it's not bad if a student is using AI and it's reasonable use, and he said that, okay, I used AI. He said it to the teachers and to the testing commission. The teachers will have to assess whether it was necessary to use AI or not, and everything will work. I don't see major risks here in this situation. Ildar, I think you do not agree, but to support diploma or dissertation, you'll have to come to the scientific council meeting, right? Well, yes. From the point of view of technology, it's almost impossible to determine whether the text was generated by a neural network or not. OpenAI shut down the anti-plagiarism project last year because the results of such attempts were extremely unreliable, with frequent false positives. Neural networks emulate very high-quality human abilities and our character, and it can also, if we know how to write text, it can emulate our written speech, and it can adapt. You can say, okay, write it as a certain person would write it in such a style. We're talking about students who use AI such as GigaChat in learning process, but is it a bad thing? We talked before starting this session that now people graduate from universities, and the skills that they received are being outdated. Don't you think it's good that they try to use AI for their homework or learning process? Maybe it will be the process during which they will gain the skills. Maybe for humanities it will not give you any benefits, but maybe in the future, in the journalism, the AI will be used. Maybe I will put the question that will be even an absurd question, but the reading skills is important. Like reading complicated technical texts is the skill that we are losing. But we lost it before AI, Yes, it's not the AI that is to blame, but that's a good question. Yeah, reading skills is the skill that we lose. But no one knows how to ride horses anymore. This is the natural course of events. We are evolving. Technologies around us are evolving, and we're adapting to them. Frankly speaking, I'm a technology optimist, and anthropologically speaking, I'm a pessimist and a spontaneous Darwinist. Yes, indeed. But our reading skills are getting worse. But the life has sped up. Most people don't have time to read. And there are those who have no time and those who can afford the time to read. And it's the same with studying at university. Some people just don't have 4-6 years to immerse themselves in fundamental knowledge. And this format needs to be shortened. Not all people need all the educational baggage and background. You know, some time ago, almost all young people in the cities of our country aspired to higher education, but this eventually devalued it, and that's something that is wrong with the system. I would agree with Ildar. I read a lot myself, and I like to do that. You know, these are disturbing thoughts, Kirill. You know, like from the humanities point of view, the cultural mindset, yes. You know, why did I bring this up? Because I loved this, you know, big literature. I read a lot, you know, and I'm 30 years old, and I have some young colleagues who are working much quicker than I do, you know, because I write, I adjust, it takes time, everything. When I make videos, for example, and the young guys are doing it much quicker. But if you talk about students, their work can be evaluated. But in a professional environment, your boss will not always be able to evaluate the work you did, you know. The quick result is more important. And some young peers that I have, they deliver the results quicker. But are the results of higher quality or just quicker? Well, not always, but the quality is usually lower. But sometimes the speed has to be prioritized, you know? Like you have to generate text quicker, and they use AI to generate texts quicker. Unfortunately, I think it boils down to the operational execution of tasks. You know, when we talk about creating new meanings, knowledge, and their qualitative structure, it is definitely important to read a lot and to understand the context. Ildar, you don't agree, right? Okay, but anyway, the execution, yeah, that works. But the strategy, creating new layers of knowledge, I think even those who perfect their AI skills without serious methodological and factual base and other background do not go far here. And I'm sure it will continue, you know. Maybe this is something that we need to.
Well, going back to the educational system, how is AI used in schools, universities, and how should it be used? We understood the main premise that there must be rules to follow, indeed, although there will always be a competition between overseers, supervisors, and students. But right now, what use have we found with AI? Anyone wishing to give an opinion? Well, right now, if we talk about AI, then it's probably LLMs, large language models, and so far, both the students and faculty are in this domain of using AI. The faculty use the LLMs to generate tasks, to verify, to mark the tasks. We have not seen a lot, but we have seen some use, future use, with personalization of education. All the people are different. We've got different speeds of learning, our own psychophysical idiosyncrasies are different. AI allows you to tweak the content as much as possible for the humans to digest it. Sber has created a wonderful teacher assistant AI engine. There's a lot of indicators that the assistant uses to give recommendations to the teacher at the end of the lesson. You have not touched upon certain topics, you are chaotic in delivering on a very complicated material, you have failed to teach this and that, point attention to this and that. This is the assistance that we are in bad need of in general life, you know, this tutorship, this mentorship. And here a teacher can get this quick feedback, quick perspective on his or her performance. And also, what we have seen quite recently, and we discussed that at the traditional 15th conference of higher education workers at the Higher School of Economics, the dropouts, based on all kinds of data, LMS of the university logs, activities on social networks, marks, length of staying in tutorial chats. The office, the teachers can be given advice. This student runs the risk of failing in this exam or dropping out completely. These things AI can help resolve very, very efficiently. And this is a lot of care exercised about the welfare of students that ensures a lot of conversion from those enrolling to those graduating. Ildar? Well, we're actively working in this direction. We've got several other options. All kinds of diagnostics can be run. Less about the system, more about the people. People are not always fitted to the jobs that they are doing. There's a lot of frustrations that are not noticed. AI can identify this very well. And when everyone writes an essay using GigaChat, it doesn't make any sense to do an essay as an activity in the classroom. So we have been trying to use AI to analyze certain cases. Cases are very hard to analyze. Mostly people do that. But if you set up the criteria right, if you get the case right, then you're going to get a treasure trove of data that you cannot get from the people quickly. This standard anecdote joke, quickly, cheaply, with good quality. You can only get two of those elements. Another thing is that as the technologies advance, it becomes cheaper and better quality. Right now, it has been so far about, inferior quality. But the guys that will be coming after us, they will be thinking, it's again expensive and again poor quality. We've got a lot of viewership. Some are students, some are people with kids going to school, perhaps the most vibrant section of the viewership. Let's fantasize. In the future, do you think there will be subjects on the school curriculum that will teach, writing prompts, engineering prompts? Will there be a subject at school that will teach them to write an essay with AI? Or will there be, hard subjects, conventional subjects? Well, any curriculum is a living being, is a living construct, and holding on tight to the curriculum and trying to be defensive as much as you can is a dead end all of its own. Two scenarios. Perhaps there might be a continuation of the subject called informatics. There will be some track dedicated to AI. If we talk about cross skills that will be required in other subject areas, then some topics might be included into those subject areas. Well, I know the drift of ELSA. We held a survey this autumn. 19,000 internet users took part, 56% male, 44% female, a lot of people, most working in IT. One of the questions asked, do we need to include training in AI in educational programs, schools and universities alike? Very interestingly, this is definitely the nation of techno-optimisms, a lot of positives, unlike the previous surveys we conducted. Surprisingly, again, 57% of respondents said yes, 26 said no, 17 don't know. Most stand in favor of implementing AI as a subject at school. Ildar is apparently laughing through tears. 55% of users said that they are not using AI in their work and are not intending to. Let me remind you, that's again people working in IT, not necessarily engineers, but in IT. Why? Well, yeah, I'm really screening my face here. Well, prompt engineering is a really temporary thing. It tells you that, yeah, it's for the AI to understand our less than smart thoughts. That's why it needs prompts. When we go through with prompt engineering, when we actually do it, it will become redundant. Well, it is redundant right now. Some AI engines write their own prompts not very well. Well, they do differently. Well, what we work with is instructive models. They understand instructions. At some point, they will stop working with instructions. They will be working more with questions and feedback from the users. And, before generating something for you, they will ask all kinds of clarification questions. And that's when everything is going to fall into its own place. I'd say you don't need to introduce prompt engineering as a subject, foundations of prompting. I'd say that we lack, there was a point I had that we lack digital literacy and media literacy. As a micro module inside those, for a while, we need to do something on AI. We could build this into these subjects, and we can wrap this up the moment when it becomes redundant, irrelevant. I'd go this way. Okay. Traditional question, Elsa, go ahead. Top 3 professions of the future in education. What would you name? Top 3? Well, as many as you name. Well, perhaps top 3 that will depart. Semen, why don't we give Ildar a break? Well, there's a lot of demand for professional consultancy, professional advice on building your own personal professional trajectory. And when that's mostly at graduation from school, but it will have to be done earlier. This coaching, personally tailored coaching, a constructor of building blocks for the professional trajectory. This will come to schools. This is an emerging market, yet the parents voice a lot of demand for this. Secondly, in terms of skills, in terms of, not broadly, not on profession, everything analysis related, data analysis related, studies related. The data analysis will allow the management on all levels to make well-founded, well-proven decisions. Thirdly, and we discussed this with colleagues the other day, we have not yet seen that many consequences of climate change yet, but I think it will be essential for a coach to emerge, to work with humans, train them to work with climate, train them to work with the environment. This will have to be a skill. New habits will have to be formed and coached. And we will have to rethink the profession of pedagogues, of teachers. Not reinvent, maybe repackage, maybe give a new meaning to. Because teachers will use AI, thankfully, will be given more time to actually teach, and a lot of routine burdens will be lightened. And this rethink of the teacher profession, yes, that will be necessary. Ildar, I do agree as a whole, but do let's make an allowance that this is all probabilistic. Well, we have not held a foresight session, okay? Well, we are fantasizing, yes. Why don't we do it by periods? 5 years out? It will probably be about integrating AI everywhere. Integrators will be necessary. This will be in decline after that. Sber will probably be one of the first. It will be universally applicable, convenient to use, etc. Going forward, it will be, in English it is called augmented people. Same professions, AI enhanced. Those that have no AI in their pocket, they will leave the labor market. Those that do, they will be working quicker, with better quality, cheaper, etc. That's going to emerge. A transformation of the teachers? Perhaps yes. I'd say it will be more a transformation from knowledge to facilitation. It will be not about knowing and thinking. It will be about managing the groups. It will be about more incentivizing. This incentivizing approach is what is really faulty in the domain of education. This is the growth spot. And going forward, 25 years out, 50 years out, Neurotraining, no, that will be just a plug into the neocortex, and we will be into all things culture, all things nature. Well, we remembered Socrates this day. We'll be high leisure. Yes. Well, we started with the consciousness at the outset, and it has to be a profession of knowledge verifier. It's academic institutions these days, it's publishers these days. There will be no books to read. Well, guys, do continue to read the books, and it structures your thinking. AI is a great tool to use. It will not teach you to think, but who is going to be verifying the compact, the merged, the vast data? That's a very interesting question. But the fashion for reading, it will die off, and then it is going to come back. That's for sure. Thank you for the wonderful conversation. Never mind the conversation, it was a projection for the future, and we touched upon crucial issues, highly vibrant for all the viewership. Education is going to be worrying for everyone, adults and kids alike. Thank you very much indeed. See you soon. Dear friends, the next stage after education is finding work. We'll do that. We write resumes, we find this. We look for this dream vacancy, we actually get hired, and everywhere we are escorted by HR specialists. How AI is going to be introduced into the work of HR specialists, that's the subject matter for the next podcast.